it's the Fat Philosopher here, and today we're going to be talking about Dave Mustaine going off to Gibson and leaving Dean. As you see here, right here, I've got myself Dave Mustaine VMNT from Dean. Picked this up last May, about 9 months ago. So I was a little bit surprised and shocked that he left Dean to go to Gibson. But when you think about it, there are some reasons why he would do so. One of the first reasons I think would be there might be a bit of nostalgic, speculating. All right, I'm not in any way in contact with anybody at Gibson, Dean, or with Megadeth. So, but anyways, let's get on to it. One reason I think that it might be a certain nostalgic factor with Dave. Of course, Dave's favorite artists. He was a huge Led Zeppelin fan. Of course, Jimmy Page is famous mostly for his Les Paul. Of course, he has Dan Electro and Fender Tele too, but he's basically a Gibson guy. Also, there's Michael Schechner. Okay, Schechner, of course, is in the 70s. We played with UFO, and he basically played the Gibson V. And Dave Mustaine has said in interviews that that was the main reason why he wanted to play a V as well. Of course, Michael Schechner right now, he's I think still a Dean artist. I think he's a Dean artist since 2005. But I guess still does nostalgic feeling for the old Gibsons he played back in the days. Might be a reason why Dean decided to sign on with Gibson. Second reason might be need for let's say a need for prestige on Dave Mustaine's part. Dave Mustaine's a bit of a competitive guy. Even though his band Megadeth has been very successful, he still nevertheless likes to compare himself with Metallica and feels frustrated a little bit by his perceived lack of success with it. So going on to Dean, even though it's a great company making great guitars, it's still not, they have the history or prestige as Gibson does, right? Dean's basically starting in the 70s, Gibson's like the 50s, right? Actually way before that, before electric guitars anyways. And he moving to Gibson might be to kind of one-up maybe Metallica, who are with the ESP maybe, he might think. And it might be a goal for him, just it might make him feel good to be knowing that he is a member of what would be, say, the second biggest guitar company in the world, right? Gibson, are they that prestigious? Even if they might not be that prestigious these days anyways, it's like they're like maybe a third the size of Fender, but even that, they still have the old history of the past, and that might be something to be going on to. Third reason I think he might have left might have been problems with Dean. Now, the move is kind of sudden. As of 2020 February, Dean was acting like Dave Mustaine would be with them forever, and they're still bragging with him about his guitars, and you could still see their guitars up to the summer of 2020 on their website. But what I like to say about Dean, first of all, I say they do make great guitars. This is a VMNT Black Maple Flame, left-handed, made in Korea. But I tell you, there's nothing really wrong with this guitar. The neck is a smooth D size. Frets are great. Okay, very easy to shred on this. Super great access, like on all V's, I guess, though. Only problem I had with this is I don't really like the nuts, kind of sharp on the corners here, and I might replace that someday. But other than that, as long as you like the V style, the V styles have their own little drawbacks, you'll probably like playing this guitar. And of course, just look at this thing. This thing looks, that Black Maple Flame, it's just gorgeous. It's a great metal weapon, like I said in previous videos. However, while as a guitar company, as for making guitars, Dean does a great job. I am not sure they're as adept at selling guitars. And, well, it's a few reasons, right? They're kind of a bro culture a little bit there. And I think everybody loves the making, but they don't really like the selling as much. And they've done a couple things questionable. Like the last NAMM, they had kind of a closed booth, on the invitation only. Which I don't see what the point of that is. And also they've had like interviews where they've kind of, had some kind of tried to push sex appeal. Like there's a 2013 Dave Mustaine interview where he's being interviewed by this, I'm sure it's a great lady and all, but she's basically wearing nothing, and all the comments on the video are mostly about her and not actually the guitars or Dave Mustaine. So kind of wondering where the focus is there. And actually my own personal experience got me a little questioning Dean's. So this one I got right now, I bought it from Extreme Electric Guitars in Florida, had it shipped out here in Japan. But before ordering this one, I tried to get a piece sales model ordered through a Japanese guitar store. Now, Dean has a branch office in Japan, and I thought it'd be no problem. They phone him up or they send an email and they email him back and order the guitar, and I'd have it in a couple of weeks or whatever it was. So my local guitar store phoned the Dean branch. A week passed and I got no response. And when I asked about it, they says, well, we phoned the Dean branch and Dean went and contacted Dean USA, but they never contacted them back. And the Dean branch told us that the Dean is notorious, Dean USA is notorious for not answering their emails and stuff like that. And after that I heard that, I emailed Dean myself saying, hey, can I get a guitar? And I got no answer. So they didn't seem like they wanted to sell me a guitar. And at the time, it was 2 weeks and no response. You know, it doesn't look very good professionally. Especially, you know, I live in Japan here, where they take, you know, business really serious. So it's being kind of like that is just doesn't really pass here. So I ended up not getting that piece sales model. Then I found this one online from Lefty Guitar, and that's how I got my Dean. So, you know, maybe with Dave Mustaine was having some trouble with the way Dean was doing business. You know, he didn't like the bra culture so much, right? You know, and he wanted maybe something a little bit better. I'm not sure if the culture's all that better at Gibson, but that might have been a reason going on. Next reason, okay, I know Dave Mustaine might not like this reason. He probably said against it, but there might be a money factor in there. Now, Dave Mustaine, when he joined Dean, okay, he was very adamant that it's not for the money, that he's there because they treat the artists right, and the Dean was doing it right. Things change, I guess, though, but still, you gotta think that it might be a little bit of a money move. You know, Gibson is, you know, not as big as you might think it is, but they still have the, you know, the reputation, and they could probably offer Dave a better deal than Dean could. And while you might think, you know, Dave Mustaine's a rich guy, he doesn't need the money, you might think again a little bit on that too. Now, Megadeth, well, one of my favorite band, and a lot of people's favorite bands, still are not a, you know, a huge band, right? You know, they've sold about 38 million albums, so it's basically they sold 1/10 of what Led Zeppelin did, and they sold maybe 1/5 of what Metallica did, you know, so, you know, they still might be looking around to get on the financial, but more interested in it, right, you know, and a lot of reasons, you know, they sell lots of merch, you know, while other huge bands like taking videos down on YouTube, Megadeth is really like pushing it and trying to get their brand out, you know. Please come on, show us our covers and stuff like that. And you know, even though Dave made lots of money in his time, he's also spent lots. You know, he said in his own book that up to Rust in Peace, he was basically broke because all the money that came in, you know, he kind of went up his nose or in his veins there, or he drank it away. You know, he was substance abuse for a long time, which is no secret, right? You know, so, you know, if you spend $300 a day on heroin, you're going to have money problems, which is something Dave himself has said. And of course, in other years, you know, he had his hand problem there, he had a neck problem, and he had cancer, just got over. So there are some medical issues there too. And you know, in America, you know, medicine costs money, so he might be thinking, you know, now that he's in his late 50s going right, and thinking about his kids going on, that maybe he might not be around for so many years. Time to get a good deal on his guitars, so at least they be making money after he goes on more than they do presently. You know, like and Dean already has, you know, they really pushed a Dimebag Darrell signatures, even though Dimebag's been dead for quite a while now, and maybe it's not really he didn't like the way that looked, and he thought maybe Gibson would do a better job of, you know, promoting his brand and maybe selling a little bit more money on the guitars. Now, I'm sure he's not making, you know, tons and tons, maybe a couple $10,000s on these guitars, but it's still a little bit a thing he might consider. You know, it's just judging by the size of the band and the state they are in their career at. And the fifth reason why I think why Dave might have went to Gibson in specific is because he kind of basically, you know, burned the bridges he had with other companies. You got to remember that Dave is famous for the V. So wherever they go, they're going to have to make him a V. And there's a lot of the companies that do make Vs he's already been with, right? You know, he started with BC Rich, just when he was younger. He played a rich bitch, but you know, but then he went on to Jackson, and Jackson, he went for many years, but when Jackson got sold to Fender, he didn't seem to like Fender, so he switched to ESP for a year. ESP, I actually like the Action, the Dave Mustaine Action guitar. I think it looks awesome. It's a great design. But he's only there for a year, and then he went on to Dean. So, you know, you got Jackson, Dean, ESP, BC Rich. So who else is going to make him a V guitar? You know, Fender won't make it for him, right? You know, and the Ibanez won't make a V. You know, PRS, of course, they'll sell, they'll pimp themselves out to anybody, change their looks. But Dave has badmouthed PRS in the past before, so I don't think you see him going there. So what's left is basically Gibson, right? You know, it's famous for the V. Now, some people might question about, you know, Gibson V's, you know, the point's kind of rounded, and that doesn't quite fit the Dave Mustaine's image. But you got to remember that his early Jacksons had in the later ones, you know, the King V's had the points, but they were rounded off too. His very early Jacksons with them, so it's not like he's never had that before. And Gibson could use their sub company Kramer to make the pointy ones if they want to keep their kind of rounded guitar image and keep their vintage V look and not compromise Dave Mustaine. They could just go on to give him to Kramer. So that's what I think. I think he really had few choices. Okay, the sixth reason why I think Dave Mustaine might have left Dean for Gibson is because he's really good friends with Slash. As you know, Slash is probably the biggest artist that Gibson has, save for maybe Jimmy Page. I think probably Slash is bigger. But Slash and Dave have been friends for a long while, right? They've been, there's talk before Slash joining Megadeth back in the 90s. Slash recently wrote the intro to Dave Mustaine's Rust in Peace book. So, you know, I'm sure they must have talked about it, and I'm sure, you know, Dave asked how things were at Gibson, and, you know, probably gave it advice, you know. Dave is a big boy, and he could decide for himself, and, you know, but I'm sure it wasn't a stretch of imagination. I think he'd ask one of his best bros there about their deal with Gibson, seeing if they can work something out together. What I would have liked him to do, well, like I guess he has a reason for leaving Dean. You know, considering I bought one just recently, I would have liked him to stayed with the company. You know, help the value on mine. But I could have liked to have seen him go into either Solar or Chapman. You know, they're smaller companies. You know, I guess he wouldn't get much money from them. But, you know, the Solar guitars look really sick. So do the Chapman V's. And I think he could have gotten a really nice guitar out of Solar, you know. And they're an up-and-coming company. You know, it'd be a good push for them as well. And for me, like I said, I was a little disappointed. I do love this guitar. It's a good guitar. It plays great. Might keep it. What should you do with your Dean? If you're thinking of selling, I don't know if they're going to go up as price, because there are quite a few out there. Just let you know that the Jacksons, as you know, are the old Dave Mustaine, the old Dave Mustaine Jacksons are worth a little bit more than they would have been new. I think they're going for like $1,800, and new they're like $1,500. They made a little bit more money, yeah. But Whether Dean's will do that, I don't know. Probably not at first. Maybe it might be good to hang on for 10 years and to see how the market goes then. Anyways, mine presently is on the market for, if you're interested in this one, for about looking for about $900 American, and I probably won't sell for less than that. I'm playing it until that comes up there. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on the Dave Mustaine situation, and then the 5 reasons why I think he went to Gibson. Personally, I'm not into the Sioux Authentic Gibson, so I probably won't be buying from the new company or Kramer. Either going to keep this one, or I got a lot of hardtails. I'm thinking of getting something with Floyd on it here, maybe. Don't fear the Floyd. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope you enjoy your Dave Mustaine signature, whatever brand it happens to be from. And good luck to you, and take care. Salut.